Good afternoon. As we all probably know, there are over 8.2 billion people in the world. So probably no matter how hard we try, we will never be able to talk to all of them. There are many barriers that can separate us from those people. In this talk, I would like to zoom into the topic of communication, but also how understanding our non-verbal communication can help us in getting rid of misunderstandings. So first, what's communication? According to Oxford Dictionary, communication is exchanging information by speaking, writing, or using some other medium. Okay, so what's also the communicational barrier? Communicational barriers are any factors that prevent us from effectively exchanging informations. They can occur between individuals or within the whole organizations. And now I have a question to you. What do you think? How many languages are there in the world? 100, 200, 400, 1,000, 2,000, we will get more. Okay, actually, according to SIL, Summer Institute of Linguistics, there are over 7,100 living languages across the globe. When we think about it, it's a very significant barrier. But the question is language everything? Dr. Albert Mahabrians conducted the research, the result of which was 7-38-55 rule. It states that only 7% of our communication is done through verbal communication. 38% is done with the voice and the tonality of our voice, and more than a half, 55%, is connected with our nonverbal communication, body language. So when we think about it from this perspective, this language barrier is not that significant. However, there are other barriers. There's, for example, cultural barrier. We are in the international school, and we, especially students and teachers, can experience this barrier every day. But now I would like to focus especially on or yes or no signing. For most of us, probably, nodding our head means yes, and shaking side to side means no. Well, that's not for everyone. Even in Europe, in countries like Bulgaria or Greece, especially back in the days, but also now, nodding head means no, and shaking side to side means yes. In India or Pakistan, the head wobble can mean yes, maybe, or I understand, just depending on the context, instead of firm up and down nod. So it can be quite confusing, right? You have a cupcake, you ask your friend if he wants it, and his answer is yes, of course. It can be very confusing for us, but we need to remember that it's not only because of our cultural background, but also because of those people cultural background, but also because of us who understand this non-verbal sign differently. When talking about non-verbals, I would like to move to the next point, which is our torso non-verbal, very often misunderstood in my opinion, and that's crossed arms behavior. Because crossed arms are very often perceived as something that a person who is crossing their arms wants to separate from others. Well, that's not always the true, because there are many reasons we do so. We can do it because of feeling cold, and it just warms us. We can do it because of the comfort, and I also do it just because of its comfortable position. When we really want to analyze this behavior, we should look on the shoulders. Mostly, when feeling comfortable, we do not raise them up. However, if someone feels anxious or concerned about something, he can raise their shoulders, and then we can really analyze this behavior. And then another very interesting concept, in my opinion, from the non-verbal world is the concept of mirroring. Mirroring is subconscious or intentional, copying others' body expression, facial expressions, speech patterns, or even emotions. And it's a very powerful tool in building connections between individuals. Body language mirroring is simply copying gestures and movements from the other person. Facial expressions mirroring. When someone smiles to you, you will probably smile back naturally without even thinking about it. Speech mirroring is copying patterns, but also adjusting and making word choices depending on the person you are talking to. And emotion mirroring is feeling and expressing the same emotions as the other person. There are many real-world applications actually of mirroring. In relationships, very often we can see that couples copy each other's gestures and postures to create a sense of harmony. In sales and negotiations, a salesperson might subtly change the tone or speed of their voice to persuade client to buy their product. And we can actually very effectively use mirroring. To do so, there are three the most important steps. First step, be subtle, because over-exaggerated mirroring can come across as mocking. The second very important thing is to observe first. Instead of starting mirroring, just first look for facial expressions, postures, gestures from the other person. And the third one, mirror naturally. Let it happen organically rather than forcing it. And the last thing I would like to really mention is something which, in my opinion, is between verbal and non-verbal communication. It's something which, in its way, connects both of these things, and that's silence, and the power of silence. So what's left unsaid matters. We can actually learn how to use silence effectively. And to do so, we need to know when and how to use it. You can practice active listening. Instead of thinking what to say next, just fully focus on the message that you're receiving from the person. Second, use pauses when speaking. A brief silence before an important point can make your message more impactful. And the last one is become comfortable with silence. Because learning to sit with silence can improve your life, can improve your confidence, and even your emotional intelligence. Summing up, there are many, and even more facial expressions, body language gestures that we wouldn't even think if they exist. But we should learn it and understand it correctly, as it can improve our daily lives. At the end, I would like you to look for some nonverbal clues you receive from others every day, and to look beyond the borders of communication. Thank you very much.